Hola y bienvenidos al Medical Spanish Premium Podcast, an interactive podcast for learning practical Spanish for healthcare and elsewhere. In today's interactive audio lesson, we are going to practice common recommendations for a healthy pregnancy in Spanish. Recomendaciones para un embarazo saludable. During my recent trip to study Spanish at the San Pedro Spanish School in Guatemala, my teacher, Elizabeth Cortez, and I put together multiple vocabulary builder lessons covering useful Spanish for prenatal care. To do this, we used information in Spanish from the NIH website, and I'll provide a link in your show notes to this information. Today's lesson is one of these vocabulary builder lessons, where we will focus on recommendations for healthy weight gain and caffeine intake during pregnancy. In subsequent premium lessons at docmolly.com, we'll cover recommendations regarding a healthy diet during pregnancy and avoidance of toxic substances, such as tobacco and alcohol. ¿Listos? Let's practice common recommendations for a healthy pregnancy in Spanish. The lessons offered at docmolly.com are solely for learning Spanish. They are not intended to teach medicine or provide medical advice. The level of this lesson is intermediate. Okay, let's start speaking some Spanish. First, we'll review vocabulary, and then we'll use that vocabulary to interpret an entire phrase. I will say each word or phrase in English, followed by a pause for you to interpret it into Spanish. Healthy pregnancy.
Embarazo saludable.
An embarazo is a masculine noun, so it's el.
Embarazo saludable.
Recommendations. Las.
Recomendaciones.
Recommendations for a healthy pregnancy.
Recomendaciones para un embarazo saludable.
To perform or to carry out. Realizar. Physical activity. La.
Actividad física.
To continue performing physical activity.
Continuar realizando actividad física.
A healthy weight.
Un peso saludable.
To maintain a healthy weight.
Mantener un peso saludable.
So now we know that during pregnancy, es importante continuar realizando actividad física y mantener un peso saludable. But what exactly is a healthy weight? Listen as Elizabeth states the 2009 guidelines regarding weight gain in pregnancy. Then we'll practice stating these guidelines in Spanish.
Según los lineamientos del 2009 del Instituto de Medicina, una mujer de bajo peso debería aumentar entre 28 y 40 libras. Una mujer de peso normal debería aumentar entre 25 y 35 libras. Una mujer obesa debería aumentar entre 11 y 20 libras durante su embarazo.
So first, let's practice the phrase according to the guidelines. Breaking down the vocabulary, how do you say according to? Según. Guidelines.
Los lineamientos.
And notice how this contains the word for line, línea.
Los lineamientos.
So try that one again. Guidelines.
Los lineamientos.
2009, as in the year 2009. El 2009. Institute of Medicine. El Instituto de Medicina. According to the 2009 guidelines from the Institute of Medicine,
Según los lineamientos del 2009 del Instituto de Medicina,
And now for some more vocabulary. Underweight. De bajo peso. To increase or to gain, as in to gain weight.
aumentar,
Pound. La libra. And how would you say kilogram? El kilogramo. Now let's try to interpret the recommendation in Spanish. An underweight woman should gain between 28 and 40 pounds.
una mujer de bajo peso debería aumentar entre 28 y 40 libras.
Normal weight.
De peso normal,
A woman of normal weight should gain between 25 and 35 pounds.
una mujer de peso normal debería aumentar entre 25 y 35 libras.
How would you describe a person as overweight? Con sobrepeso. An overweight woman? Una mujer con sobrepeso. An overweight woman should gain between 15 and 25 pounds during her pregnancy. Una mujer con sobrepeso debería aumentar entre 15 y 25 libras durante su embarazo. Obese. Obeso, or if referring to a woman,
Obesa,
an obese woman should gain between 11 and 20 pounds during her pregnancy.
una mujer obesa debería aumentar entre 11 y 20 libras durante su embarazo.
Now let's cover diet during pregnancy. First, la cafeína. So how do you say caffeine? La
Cafeína,
intake or consumption. El consumo. To limit. Limitar. To limit caffeine intake.
limitar el consumo de cafeína.
Risk. El riesgo. Miscarriage. El aborto espontáneo. High intake can increase the risk of miscarriage.
El consumo alto puede aumentar el riesgo de aborto espontáneo.
Try that one again. High intake can increase the risk of miscarriage.
El consumo alto puede aumentar el riesgo de aborto espontáneo.
Milligrams. Los,
Miligramos,
to be equivalent or to equal. Equivaler. A cup of coffee.
una taza de café
A day, as in per day.
al día.
And this is A combined with el día. Al día. Now let's interpret the recommendation for daily caffeine intake in Spanish. To limit caffeine intake to 200 milligrams, which equals a cup of coffee a day.
Limitar el consumo de cafeína a 200 miligramos, que equivale a una taza de café al día.
Let's try that recommendation again. To limit caffeine intake to 200 milligrams, which equals a cup of coffee a day.
Limitar el consumo de cafeína a 200 miligramos, que equivale a una taza de café al día.
And that wraps up today's lesson on recommendations for healthy pregnancy. If you're a Medical Spanish member at DocMolly.com, we'll go on to cover more Spanish for recommendations regarding diet during pregnancy and why it's important to avoid toxic substances such as alcohol and tobacco. And then we'll practice explaining common tests and procedures done during prenatal care visits. Many of you have requested I make more lessons covering Spanish for perinatal care. So while my friend, who is an interpreter, Sonia Umsiri, and I were studying at the San Pedro Spanish School, we recorded audio relating to perinatal care. And we'll be using this audio to make upcoming lessons for the Medical Spanish podcast. I talk more about this amazing school and what we did in last week's episode. There's a link in your show notes. Now, to prepare for these upcoming lessons on perinatal care, I recommend you check out our prior lessons on women's health. There's a list with links in your show notes. This new set of lessons will consist of interviews from San Pedro, Guatemala, one with a family practice doctor, Dr. Francisco Mendez, and another interview with La Estimada Comadrona, or midwife, Esther Pope, who I've interviewed before. I also interviewed my teacher at the San Pedro Spanish School, Elizabeth Cortez, about her experience with prenatal care and childbirth. These interviews provide insight into the life and traditions surrounding childbirth in Guatemala. We will also use them to build our vocabulary and to practice useful phrases when speaking about perinatal care in Spanish. If you're not a member yet and you enjoy these lessons, you can sign up for a Medical Spanish membership at DocMolly.com. Otherwise, I'll see you again within the month with another free lesson. Hasta la próxima! This is a production of DocMolly.com, where you will find interactive audio lessons that teach Spanish for healthcare and elsewhere.